probably one of my most anticipated records of the year. Hi guys, welcome back, and hello if you are new. First of all, Happy New Year. I hope all of you guys had a really, really lovely Christmas and a very positive New Year as well. So as you guys know, I ended the year on my Albums of the Year list. Thank you guys so much for tuning into that. It was really, really cool. But of course, we are in 2024 now, so we're looking once again to the future. So I'm going to do my most anticipated releases of 2024. And there's going to be confirmed ones, and then ones which I think are going to happen, and then ones which are complete conjecture and I've got no clue about, right? So I'll kick things off in kind of like chronological order from all of them being released. And the first one is going to be my actual first review of the year, which is Alluvial's EP, Death Is But a Door. So the band released their album Sarcoma, and this is the first sort of morsel that we can see for the next chapter of Alluvial. I'm very excited to chat about this one, and I'm going to keep it quite short and sweet because I'll, talk a little bit more about it next week. After that, we have Green Day coming in with Saviors. So the big thing for me on this one is that Green Day, I think, have kind of gone back to what their sort of original sound feels like. Obviously I've only heard Look Ma No Brains, The American Dream Is Killing Me, and there's another third track I can't quite remember. But from what I've heard, it sounds more similar to the classic Green Day rather than this like Father of All Motherfuckers or whatever it was called. So I'm quite excited for that, and to see, a band that are as big as Green Day kind of do something like that and go back to their sort of roots of their sound. After that, we have Upon Stone with Dead Mother Moon. So this is a band that is a new signing for Century Media. I'd not really heard of them before. Pretty cool, kind of like Entombed sort of vibes, melodic death metal, all that sort of stuff. And, I think January is always a good one to release albums, particularly of bands that aren't necessarily all that well known, because the sort of spotlight gets shone on them a little bit more than maybe it would have in the past. So excited to hear that band. After that, we have Vitriol, Suffer and Become. So this is the first band that I ever sent out as a promo, as a PR. So I've got quite a soft spot for Vitriol. And it is... Vitriol as a band are like one of the most extreme, unrelenting, technical death metal bands out there. And I think Suffer and Become is going to be quite interesting to see what they build on, what To Bathe in the Throat of Cowardice basically had. And I think it will be really interesting to see what the next chapter for Vitriol is going to hold. I think it's a little bit more cohesive. There's a little bit more focus on the songwriting rather than just the crazy technical stuff as well. We've also got Mountain Caller, Chronicle 2, Hypergenesis coming through, which is kind of like a proggy metal instrumental kind of thing, which I'd not really been all that familiar with them. I only found out about them because they were supporting Earn, and I was going to go to that gig, but then unfortunately I couldn't. And yeah, they seem really, really cool. So that new album is coming out at the end of January. And there's also Caligula's Horse coming out with Charcoal Grace, which I think is going to be quite interesting. I really liked the previous Caligula's Horse album. They've been a band that are on the progressive metal scene for quite some time now, and I think they've really established a name for themselves. Then on the 9th of February, we have Chelsea Wolfe with She Reaches Out to She Reaches Out to She. So the first track that I heard off of this record was on, I think it was Six Music's Marianne Hobbs, who did like a premiere thing. Sounds quite electronic, and there's a bit more industrial sort of elements going on here, which I thought was cool. I think this is going to be very different to the 2019, I think it was, Birth in Violence or something with violence. And also Chelsea Wolfe collaborated with Converge for Blood Moon. So very excited to hear what this is going to entail. Not that I might have heard it already. And on the same day, we have Spectral Voice releasing Sparagmos. So I was a huge fan of Eroded Corridors of Unbeing. And I think that Death Doom, in terms of like, the pinnacle of new bands, you can't really get much better than Spectral Voice, it also, features Paul Riedel from Blood Incantation in there, which is always a good thing. And yeah, I think it's just going to be a very interesting album for sure. Next up is Ihsahn with Ihsahn. So I have heard this album a lot. I have interviewed Ihsahn, which will be going up very, very soon. It is a masterpiece, an absolutely brilliant album. It's a record which is a dual record, essentially. So you have one metal themed idea and you have an orchestral themed idea. So I don't want to give too much away, but the orchestrated version is absolutely just as brilliant as the metal version. And I think, the two kind of come together to really create something that is incredibly unique in Ihsahn's already very eclectic canon. So make sure that you absolutely nail that 16th of February date in the calendar, because it's going to be a hell of a record. And following up after that, the week later, we have Job for a Cowboy with Moon Healer. Again, probably one of my most anticipated records of the year. I'm sure a lot of people's most anticipated record of the year. The last thing we heard from them was Sun Eater, which was actually 10 years ago, which is insane. I also love the fact that they basically made the album of their career and then disappeared. So Moon Healer, I think, is kind of like a companion record to Sun Eater, and kind of looks at the idea of, I think it's kind of, like psychotropic elements and things like that, and how they can like open our minds. But yeah, very, very, very excited for that. And then on the same day is Darkest Hour with Perpetual Terminal. I forgot I've got one up there. So I'm a massive fan of Darkest Hour. I really, really liked the single, although it did sound a little bit similar to Deceiver of the Gods by Amon Amarth, which is just a little bugbear of mine in the intro. But then, very much kind of into that Godless Prophets and the Migrant Flora kind of territory. It's very ferocious, snarling metalcore. I think it's going to be a real treat, for Darkest Hour fans. And then afterwards, just before the end of the year, Borknagar announced their new album. I always think Borknagar sounds like a sneeze, called Fall. And I really like Borknagar as well. I think they're a fantastic band. So I'm excited to see what Fall has got in store, because I'm pretty sure that came out in 2019. So it's been quite some time since we've heard from Borknagar. Then we have Bruce Dickinson with the Mandrake Project in March, which is kind of, I feel like more of a proggy, Iron Maiden's pretty prog, but more of a kind of like prog metal sort of vibe from the single that we've heard so far. Quite interested to see what that's like. I'm a massive fan of Iron Maiden. In all honesty, I've never really listened to Bruce's solo stuff all that much. But I'm sure that it'll be just as great. But it'll be interesting to see how the instruments kind of mimic that, because obviously in Iron Maiden, they're a huge, huge part of it. So yeah, very excited for that one. After that, we have Skeletal Remains and Fragments of the Ageless. So Skeletal Remains are another band that I used to work with when I was at Central Media, and absolutely brilliant, brilliant stuff. Really love this band. They kind of channel that sort of suffocation, immolation style death metal, but with a very new and contemporary sound. Interested to see what this is going to sound like. I do kind of think that some people slept on the Entombment of Chaos, which is their previous album, so hopefully this will kind of put them in a bit more of a spotlight as well. But yeah, very excited for that. And then we've got probably, I would say, one of the biggest heavy metal bands out there is Judas Priest, releasing Invincible Shield. So far they've kind of released 2 singles, which I think sound really, really good. Panic Attack, and then I can't remember what the other track is, but very much kind of continuing the strength of Firepower, which I really, really love. Still play a lot to this day. It's in my collection, actually. And yeah, very excited to see what Invincible Shield is going to offer in terms of like a complete album. And then lastly, but certainly not leastly, we've got Sum 41 with Heaven and Hell, which is their swan song album. They've called it, this is the final album that they're going to release, and I think it's going to be really cool. I listened to Rise Up, I think it was yesterday, and that kind of gave me a Does This Look Infected kind of vibe, which I kind of really liked. And then Landmines is a bit more pop punk. So it'll be interesting to see the kind of duality between those two bands. They've always had that sort of heavy metal kind of edge, which is what I really liked about them. And that's why I liked, All Killer No Filler and Does This Look Infected. So I wonder if it might sort of appeal to that sort of side of fan, as well as like, Chuck and all that sort of stuff. So those are the ones which are all confirmed and absolutely happening. So these are the ones which are anticipated, but I don't know whether or not they're going to come out this year. Who knows? So first up is Nile. Nile are recording their new album. Whether or not it will come out this year, who knows? But this is going to be the first album to not feature Dallas Toller Wade after he departed the band, and is also going to be the first record on Napalm Records as well. So I'm very excited to hear that. After that, we have the Black Dahlia murder. Recordings begun for the new album. And obviously, we all know that Trevor is no longer with us, sadly. And Brian Eschbach has stepped in as a vocalist. And then we've now got Ryan Knight, who, if you're not familiar, was the lead guitarist from Ritual to Abysmal. And then we've also got Brandon Ellis, who has been, absolutely slaying it with amazing leads, and is also the student of Ryan. So I thought that was really cool. So yeah, that's going to be incredible. I'm sure it's going to be an absolute amazing death metal album, but it will have a huge amount of emotional resonance with me in particular. Gatecreeper, I reckon we've got a new album coming around the corner. They've been kind of quite tight-lipped on it. They played Bloodstock last year, and I think they debuted a new song, I'm pretty sure. So I would imagine we'll probably be looking at a spring release for that one. Maybe tie them in with some festivals and get some fall tours in there as well. But, Unexpected Reality was a brilliant record, So I'm interested to see if, they kind of follow that sort of vein or add in different ideas. Either way, it's going to be really cool. Then we got Bring Me the Horizon with Post Next Gen, I think. Post Survival Next Gen, I think that's what it's called, which is going to be interesting. Obviously, there's been a little bit of a change in the fact that Jordan Fish is no longer in the band, and they've pushed the album back twice now, I think. So whether or not that was the new material added or things taken away, who knows? But obviously Bring Me the Horizon, one of the biggest metal rock bands in the world at the moment. So whatever they're going to be doing, the world is definitely going to be watching. But I'm sure, I reckon we might get it in April maybe, depending on how quickly things are turning around. Nails have confirmed that they're coming back with their first album since You Will Never Be One of Us, which was absolutely savage and is one of the best modern grind records, I reckon, in quite some time. But it's been a long time. So it's going to be interesting to see if they've still got that sense of, that venom and that vigor that they had with that, landmark release. And also to see if people are as bothered, because it has been a long time, but hopefully that fan base is still there, and I think it's going to be really, really cool. Then we got Whitechapel, who I reckon will release a new album maybe in the fall. I know that Phil Bozeman has been working on some stuff, and I'm pretty sure the band have been sharing sort of teasers in the studio and things like that. It's going to be really interesting. Kin was, I think, my number 2 album of the year when it came out. So I'm really excited to see what the deal is. And I think this is going to be the ending of the Valley, Kin, and whatever colour this next one's going to be. My money's on green, maybe? I don't know. Maybe purple? Who knows? But yeah, very excited to see what Whitechapel are going to do. And if they're going to follow that more sort of singing kind of route, or if it's going to be more progressive, who knows. And I reckon that we are due a 200 Stab Wounds album. I know the band are going out on tour with Cattle Decapitation in March, so I would imagine we will get an announcement fairly soon, letting us know all things about 200 Stab Wounds. They've been signed to Metal Blade, they released a single, bit of a teaser, they've been doing a lot of touring. I think they're kind of building up to this big thing, and that 2024 is very much going to be the year of 200 Stab Wounds. So very, very excited for them. But of course, I am most excited for Blood Incantation. Blood Incantation are, I think, one of the best modern day death metal bands. They bridge the gap between that sort of, classic 90s brilliance and then a real contemporary sound, and they released Luminescent Bridge, a small EP which showcased that sort of combining of Time Wave Zero and Hidden History of the Human Race and Starspawn and all that sort of stuff. And then they recorded what I believe is this new album, in Berlin over a month period and had multiple special guests. You know, I think it's been produced and mixed by Arthur Risk. I don't know if that's completely right, but whatever happens, it's going to be a hell of a statement. And I am so excited to see the world of Blood Incantation expanding now. I think this is going to be the record where it all kind of comes together and we're really starting to see the grand plan of Blood Incantation. So next up we come to my conjecture. There is nothing based on this whatsoever. It's just my brain thinking maybe it's about time. So the first one is The Contortionist. I have been a fan of The Contortionist for years and years and years. Language was an incredible record, and Clairvoyant also absolutely amazing. But it's been quite some time since we've had any new material aside from that. I think it was Our Bones EP that they released, and I know that the band have been going through a lot. Michael Lessard especially. So who knows, maybe this might be the year that we get a new Contortionist record. I'm not holding my breath, but you know, it would be amazing because I do really think they are one of progressive metal's brightest burning flames. Speaking of prog metal, Beyond Creation, I reckon, could be due a new record. You know, The Algorithm came out quite a while ago as well. They've been touring quite a lot. Obviously, this kind of music is incredibly complex and really difficult to put together, so I would imagine it takes quite a long time to write an album's worth. But what I really loved about The Algorithm was that they kind of focused more on that songwriting and less on the technical aspect of it. So I think we might be getting one, who knows. Changing the kind of thing a little bit now is Billie Eilish. I really love Billie Eilish, and I think that she's been working on a new record that we're going to see this year. There's been a lot of stuff, you know, about Barbie, and I keep seeing lots of stuff on her socials, and it looks like she's kind of gearing up to do some kind of big reveal. What it is, who knows? And who knows what it's going to sound like, because Happier Than Ever and When We All Fall Asleep, Where Do We Go were two very different records. Going back to the heavy stuff now, I reckon we might be getting an album from Chemists. It's been quite a while since we've had any new material from them, although it did come out in November 2021. So maybe it's not quite as long as I thought, but you know, maybe they've been kind of working on something behind the scenes. If we maybe get a Gorguts album, that would be the best gift of all. Luke LeMay, if you're listening. Obviously, again, I know that it takes such a long time to put something together as technical and difficult as Gorguts, but I am just a huge fan of this band, and I think, you know, it'll be worth the wait, whatever happens. But Coloured Sands is still one of my favourite records of all time. Absolutely brilliant album. I also wonder if we might get a new record from Converge. I know we had Blood Moon recently, but an actual full Converge record I think would be really cool. It's been a while since we've had one in The Dusk in Us, which I can't remember, but I feel like it was 2018 maybe that was released. So yeah, you know, could be due a new Converge record, who knows? And I've also seen that Dave Davidson has been in the studio tracking guitars for Gargoyle LP2. Who knows when that's going to come out and what it's going to sound like, but I loved Gargoyle 1, so really excited to see what comes through on that. And then Uranzi Pazuzu have also been in the studio, I think in like November. Again, whether or not this comes out this year, who knows? But it's coming, which is the most important thing. There's something to look forward to. I also saw that Ghost have been saying that they've got lots of plans this year. Whether or not that's going to be a full length, who knows? Because Tobias Forge, you know, has a big master plan when all these things are considered, and they're obviously an enormous band. So putting together something as a new album is a very big undertaking. But, you know, it could be more tours, who knows? And also Cryptic Shift. I got a feeling that we might be hearing some Cryptic Shift material by the end of this year. I'm hoping, really hoping. They've been signed to Metal Blade for a little while now, and I would imagine that, you know, again, writing material that is like Visitations from Enceladus is quite taxing. And also they really want to get it right, you know, for that first new release on a record label like Metal Blade. But yeah, these are all just conjecture. I've got no idea if this is going to actually happen. This is just kind of my brain kind of whizzing at a million miles an hour. But what do you guys think? Let me know. Have you got any records that you think, maybe there's a band that's kind of going to come out of the shadows, or they've, been working on something for quite a while that I've kind of completely forgotten about, let me know in the comments underneath me, and also let me know what your most anticipated records are, and I will make sure to read all the comments and get back to them. I always do try and get back to as many comments as I can, but it can be a bit tricky. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, it'd be great if you could hit that like and subscribe button, and also share the video with anyone that you might, think would be a fan or anything like that. And I'll see you guys very, very soon for more album reviews and interviews in 2024. All right, take care, guys.